what's the seamless process? Obviously, there was issues last year with websites. Ours never faltered. Yeah. We'll say that we were up and running all the time. And I think people got frustrated with maybe their state exchange or the government's website. And they don't have to use those websites. They can start at eHealth. And even if, let's say, we're not connected to a specific state exchange, we'll at least let you know and direct you the right place to go. I think everyone's going to do it a little bit better this year. Last year was the first year, lessons were learned, and so hopefully it'll be a smoother process this year than it was last for everyone.
Yeah.
Right, knock on wood. Okay. Tim, how are we doing on questions?
Yeah, we can do another one here. So I do have one that came in. Actually, this was yesterday here from Twitter. This is at World of Nerd. It says, my insurance company sent me a letter saying my health insurance plan was canceled. What am I supposed to do? So I know a lot of these people bought plans that were not grandfathered, which means that they were supposed to change the plan at some point because the plans didn't include all the benefits of the Affordable Care Act. I took a lot of these calls back when I was on the phones. And I know a lot of people price was a big issue for them, so which is why they leaned on and purchased those plans. But I guess one of the recommendations that I would normally give to World of Nerd would be to check to see if they qualify for a subsidy. But I know Carrie, our team is dealing with this issue a lot. People bought plans that aren't grandfathered. They received a cancellation notice. How do we help people with this transition onto the new plans?
Yeah, this is happening a lot, and if you were fortunate enough to get an extension to keep your plan through the end of this year, then you're going to be kind of receiving some notification on what the insurance company is going to do in order to move you to a new Affordable Care Act plan. In some cases, you're going to be getting a notification that says, yes, you can keep it again, and we are seeing some carriers offer that extension up to 2017. But if you are forced having to find new coverage because your plan is ending, the carrier is going to do one of three things. The first option is they're going to automatically transition you into a new Affordable Care Act plan. They'll tell you what that plan is, what the benefits are, what that new cost is going to be. And if you don't want the plan, then you're going to have to actively let them know, don't enroll me in that plan. The second way is they're going to say, hey, you have to actively enroll in this new plan and actually send in information or let them know in some way that, yes, you gave me these options, this is the one I want to pick, so enroll me in that one. And then the third is they're just going to send you a notification saying, you're going to be on your own after December 31st or whatever that date is, and you need to just go out and find a new plan. We've actually done a lot of work to help people figure out what action they need to take based on their carrier and their state and when they're up for renewal. So people can visit eHealth.com/action plan, and you can figure out based on your carrier what kind of transaction you need to take in order to either keep your insurance, change your insurance, or what you need to do through this kind of confusing period.
Yeah, it's a great point, and that actually makes me think of something else we should probably talk about, which is I know a lot of people bought short-term insurance this year because they missed the enrollment period or they didn't know there was an enrollment period, so they came to buy a major medical plan, and we had to say, hey, the rules have changed. You don't have a qualifying life event, you didn't move, you didn't lose coverage, and you can't sign up for an ACA plan. And so the other option is short-term insurance, and so a lot of people signed up for that. Those plans are terming out now. So if you're coming up to this enrollment period, be aware that this is your time to sign up, to check and see if you're eligible for a subsidy. And I know we have a website built for those customers too, and I don't believe we have a handy short URL for that, but we'll link to it in the email that we send out to folks. And so I would just, on the short-term plan side, anything that we feel like we need to let people know, there's a couple things that come to mind for me, but I'll throw that to you or Tim.
This is their time to shop. So starting on this Saturday, if you are currently on a short-term plan and that was kind of your only option, now's the time to sign up for an Affordable Care Act plan. If you choose to keep your short-term plan, you just need to be aware that you will be subject to the tax penalty because it is not, it doesn't meet the mandates of the law.
Yeah, so that's an important point. There's this tax penalty that's in place. It goes from 1% of your income last year to 2% of your income this year. So I know a lot of people say, oh, it's only $95. That's the minimum. The maximum is this year is going to be 2% of your income. And if you're on a short-term plan, that's not going to qualify. You have to sign up for a major medical health insurance plan. So, and a really important detail. And Tim, I know that you were involved in some of the communications around this. Do you want to talk about some of maybe the pros and cons of short-term amendment? I know there are some great benefits of short-term. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there a couple things you can point out that it's good for? And then, we talked about the tax penalty, but why you might want to switch?
Yeah. So I guess typically people are drawn to short-term plans because either they need coverage really quickly, they're going on vacation, or they need it for some sort of educational program that requires proof of insurance, and they waited to the very last minute. They need it like tomorrow within the week, so they'll go to a short-term plan because they're inexpensive and they start quickly. So I guess one of the cons of that is that you can't keep the plan it cancels after typically 6 months. You have to file your own claims, which people usually aren't always familiar with. So you go to the doctor, they send you a bill, you send the bill to the insurance company to get reimbursed for that, as opposed to just showing your insurance company or showing your insurance card to the doctor and then they file the claim for you. Also, like Carrie said, there's a tax penalty. And I guess finally, they aren't guaranteed issue. So if you do have medical conditions, you could be declined. They aren't guaranteed issue because they aren't major medical plans.
Right. So I think it's just they're a really good short-term alternative, but it's not a long-term. And I know we've had people ask, can I just sign up over and over again? And usually there's a 3 renewal limit, right? So after you've been on a short-term plan for 18 months, I think if you sign up 3 times, then you can't sign up a 4th time. So important things to know about short-term coverage.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me do a time check. Tim, how are we doing on time?
It's about 12:05, and I do want to kind of reiterate the URL where you can find this afterwards. So eHealth.com/resource-center. So the resource center URL. So afterwards, you can get all the information that we went over today there.
Okay, great. Yeah, and it'll be right on the header. Okay, so we're over an hour. Are we having more questions come in?
We're kind of wrapping it up here. So it looks like we've answered just about all the questions that have come in so far. So. Okay,
great. And Brandy, was there anything else you wanted us to cover? I feel like in an hour we've covered so much, and yet there's so much yet to cover. I know it's so complex, and there are so many unique, sort of individual circumstances. We're seeing and hearing a lot of those all the time. But I want to sort of give one last opportunity.
I did have one last question that a friend tweeted at me. Patricia, she's at BoomerWiz, but she wanted to know about preventative care. So does Affordable Care Act plans, do they cover preventative care, or is it just for critical situations?
Yeah, actually, the law has a lot of preventive care services available at no cost. I think it's interesting. I think people are almost afraid to use their benefits because they don't understand them. Yeah. But there are a set number of preventive services that are covered at no cost. There's a set, like 25 that are just specific to women. So your well woman exam, a mammogram, all kinds of different test screenings for cancer, and then men have their own set of preventive services, and then both men and women. So blood pressure screening, counseling for depression, alcoholism, tobacco cessation, weight loss counseling, all kinds of different services that I think people really need to start taking advantage, because if it's free, there's not a lot that's free, right? So you should use your benefits and understand anything that you can get out of that at no cost. I will say that some people too don't necessarily understand that if they go in for a well check, and they might find something that's not right, and they want you to come back in and maybe do some additional lab work, things like that. It's now turned into not necessarily preventive, more diagnostic, and then the diagnostic piece is not going to be free of charge. So then they need to understand how their plan works for lab work and things like that that they might experience once they've passed into that diagnostic area.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's been news coverage of that some people thought, they get a cold and they think, oh, I've got a cold, I'm going to go in for my free preventive screening, and then they get a bill and they're like, well, I had a cold and I wanted preventive care. So it's a very defined sort of list of regularly scheduled things, and the idea is that if you get the preventive care and we catch things early, we lower long-term health care costs so that things like breast cancer or something like that doesn't get to a point where we have to spend billions of resources to try and catch it late. We catch all those things early, and so that's just an important point to make. But that's a great question.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, I think it's been a good hour and 10 minutes, and I don't get that there are more questions coming in. So I want to thank you very much for participating. It's been really great to work with you. Thanks for the great questions. Carrie, as always, great to work with you. Tim, great job. I want to thank everybody who tuned in and listened and asked questions. Again, we will send you an email that has all of this sort of broken up into different video sections with links to some of the resources that we talked about. So really try to provide you with a resource that you can go back to again and again if you have questions as you get into the open enrollment period. So thank you very much, and have a great day.